Hello and welcome to a conversation on the Daily Burn. I'm your host, Eric Miller. Today I'm joined by an awesome, fierce and fiery progressive from the great state of Georgia running for the State House, District 117, 117 to be specific, Mokah Johnson. How you doing, Mokah?
I'm doing pretty good. It is storming outside over on
Oh,
my side of the world, but I'm doing pretty good despite the rainy weather outside.
no doubt. Yeah, good to hear that you're doing well. Not about the weather. It's a real treat to chat with you. I've been, sort of identifying candidates that I wanted to platform and stuff, and I saw the piece you did with Vice, and I thought that was, so moving and so powerful. And I was like, she's a superstar, and I wanted to talk to you immediately. And then I watched your campaign kickoff speech, and that was just moving. In that speech, you said not me, us, right? And my page started as a Bernie page. And I don't know if you necessarily were referencing him. I think maybe you just got to the same point because you come from the same motivating factors, right? So I thought that was beautiful. So I'm thrilled to chat with you. And I'll get my yakking out of the way. I want to ask about your history, your platform, how the race is going, that type of thing. The first thing I want to ask about is I've heard you tell this story, but if you wouldn't mind sharing, I guess January 18th was a special day, and what was it that activated you to get into electoral politics?
Well, surprisingly, in 2015, towards the end of that year, a bar decided it was a great idea to create a drink special called Niggerita. And so I've been living in Athens, Clarke County at that time for about 3 to 5 years, and about 3 years, I would say about 3 years. And I was like, do I want to continue to live here where a bar is so bold to try to create such a drink special? I was waiting for like the government to do something. I thought the police department would do something. And when no one did anything, I said to my husband, I was like, hey, if we're going to stay here, we need to do something. And so I jumped into activism, and on MLK holiday of 2016, after a few weeks of planning, we launched our first rally, and over 500 people joined us at UGA Arch. And we marched through downtown Athens saying, hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist bars, they got to go. So I've been marching ever since, so I've learned about fighting for political change by actually doing the work, by doing it hands on, by marching through the streets, by gathering with people. Even on that day, we reached out to various organizations. We reached out to the commissioner that I knew, like one of the only commissioners. So I tried to work with people across the boards that have like minds that want change. So that was 500 people. It didn't matter if we were Democrat, Republicans, Libertarian. It didn't matter. Every day we were in unison, marching throughout the streets of downtown Athens against discrimination because we didn't want it here in our town. And since then, I've marched against police brutality. I'm big on criminal justice reform. We've been able to pass a anti-discrimination ordinance that will prevent bar owners from discriminating. We've been able to pass a cash bail ordinance that people are able to get out of jail on an OR on recognizance without cash, and it's low misdemeanor offenses. So that's some place to start. So I've been marching for 4 years. I've learned how to make change by collaborating with others and by being vocal in my community. So that's how I got started. And now I'm running for office in 2020.
Right on. Amazing. And I assume you were successful in getting that bar to yield with its racist drink, right? That's no longer.
No, the funny thing is, like, they closed down for a short period of time, so I believe they might have sold and changed ownership. But the main thing is that they reopened under another name,
Right.
ownership or whatever. But the thing about it is that we're letting people know that we're not going to stand for discrimination in our town. So a lot of times while we're waiting for political changes, when you have to vote for policy changes, sometimes that takes too long. So people need to understand that your voice matters, and collectively you can make a difference by organizing and mobilizing and being consistent. You pay taxes. Your dollars matter. And I think that we forgot that we got the power. So we need to remind ourselves who have the power. So we don't have to wait until an elected official is in office. We need to march. We need to continuously push and also vote for the right people to be in office.
Right on. That's amazing. And I love that story about the cash bail fight. That's a fight that's happening, all over the country. And the fact that you had success in that just from a people power movement rather than a position of elected office, right? That's incredible. I mean, that's what activism is all about. What a great entree into this. So now you're running for an actual, to get on the other side of the dais, as they say, right? For an actual seat, and it's Georgia's 117th. The incumbent is a Republican, a guy named Houston Gaines. You don't have to. I know you're running a campaign of love. I'm not going to prompt you to trash on him too much, but I know he voted against a sort of a HB 426. What was that bill that he voted against?
I mean, I'm in amongst the bills that he has voted against. Let's start. Besides HB 426, the abortion bills, women rights bill, he voted against the hate crime bill in 2018, voted to protect the Confederate monuments, voted against Medicaid expansion. There's an array of things that have been voted against. And his number one job is to make sure that the people have enough budget and funding, that these communities are being taken care of. So if you know your district, you would know that healthcare is top one. People need healthcare coverage, so why vote against it? If you know your district, you would know that a majority of the women, we stand up for our rights. You understand? So, infringing on, women rights when it comes to abortion, which they overturned and was considered unconstitutional, he's a part of that, so people need to start looking at whether or not you want change or whether you want someone to continue to uphold the infrastructure that is not benefiting everyone. I'm not trying to exclude anyone. I'm trying to create an equitable system where everybody can thrive, working class family, business owners, and also for the future of our children. And that's what people need to understand. They don't need to look at the color of my skin, the context of my hair. They don't need to look at my grammar. They need to look at my work and what I'm fighting for. I'm a GED teacher. You understand? So my heart goes out to people across the board, different diverse people come into my classroom. I'm not trying to exclude anyone. So this language of division and radicalness, it's not radical if I'm advocating for women's rights. I'm not advocating against I'm not advocating for cutting budgets. How radical is that? You know what I mean? So people need to really start listening and paying attention. And if you want change, you need to start, moving away from the old guard.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. You mentioned the Medicaid expansion in the state, and he voted against it. This is one of those things, right? It's a state-specific issue, and I lost her. Hopefully, she'll jump back in here in a second. So he had voted against Medicaid expansion previously, the incumbent Houston Gaines, and I was going to make the point that if we get someone like Mokah in that seat, that's one more vote to, actually get the people the Medicaid they need. Hopefully she can jump back on here. I'll give her a minute. There she is.
I don't know what happened. I must have lost signal.
There we go. No worries. I was just making the point that, Medicaid expansion is likely to come up again in 2021. And, rather than have one vote against, your constituents, if you're in that seat, it's going to be a vote for, right? A vote for the people. So yeah, that would be amazing. Let me just hit on a few of the other things on your platform. They're all connected, right? You know that. Can you talk about housing as a human right in your districts?
Okay, so what's going on in my district is that there's not enough affordable housing. not just in Athens, Clarke County, but I also represent like a small portion of Barrow, a small portion of Jackson. Oconee is a more of a wealthier market. But what's going on right now is that with the rent bracket pricing and also the money that people are making, meaning affordable wages, is not matching up. So I would like to advocate for inclusionary zonings. I would like to advocate for incentive for builders to want to build affordable housing, because they're also saying that the cost is not profitable to them. You know, it's the fees that comes with the supplies around construction. It's expensive, so it's not profitable for them. So look for incentives so that they will build more affordable housing in the areas. And also, I like the ideas of tiny houses. So I'm looking into that as well, because there's a lot of homeless people within Athens, Clarke County, and we are the closest, I guess, homeless haven between Atlanta. So there's a lot of people that are in our area that are homeless, and I'm just looking at ways to address those issues. If
Awesome.
you've ever have you ever heard of the People Powered Prosperity Package?
No, not by name. No.
Okay, so some of the solutions that I'm looking at is through that package, and I will share it with you after this broadcast, because that
Right.
it looks at the budget and how you can spend it differently so that is equitable for everyone.
That's great. You mentioned there's an area of your district. Let me just pull up the map of your district real quick. You mentioned there's an area of your district that's, I forget the word you used, but maybe a little more affluent or well off. I wonder, is there, sometimes there isn't, not only is there not investment in affordable housing, and, like you said, the case is made that they can't find it in budget, but they might give abatements to upper class real estate developments, right? I don't know if that's the case in your district, but I'm hearing that as kind of a common thing. Have you heard of anything like that in your district?
Yeah, I've also heard about, I was looking at one bill where they would have exempt the disposable fee. There's something about the disposable fee when these contractors build in the areas. So they're about incentives, and also what they call them, mixed housing development. So if they're going to come in and build this high rise, or they're going to build this multiple complex that's really cool and it's modern, to make sure that a few of the units within that building is affordable. And
Oh,
you
right.
gain from having a mixed unit, different people, diversity, inclusion, living amongst each other. You can learn from each other. So just make sure that it's affordable. Some affordable units are there for others as well.
Awesome. Since I have your district up, I like to give candidates an opportunity to brag on their district. Tell me about 117. What's it mean to you? What's great about it? What do people want? What should people know about 117 in Georgia?
I would say, all right, so Athens, Clarke County is the blue dot, and we're surrounded by the Red Sea. So I'm going to start with Athens, Clarke County first.
Okay.
This is the Bulldog territory for University of Georgia, and I love so many things about this town. It's a music, creative, artsy town. I believe that we can set the pace of what, for the other areas of how we can be better by being more inclusive and diverse and embracing the arts and the culture. And then for others that like small town living, want the big city life. That's what the other small towns are for. I like it. I like the area. We have our problems. We're not the worst. You know what I'm saying? We have our problems, but you can get to the mountains, you can get to the beach, you can get to different places within like an hour and a half from Athens, Clarke County, and from the House District 117. Have some country, some culture, big on produce, running, exercising, all of that good stuff. So those are the good things about Athens, Clarke County.
Awesome. And it has the city of Athens is entirely in your district. Is that right?
Not entirely, but a large portion of it. I won't say entirely. I also share it with Spencer Fry, and also another candidate that's running is Jonathan Wallace.
Okay.
So we share that district.
Right on. So I always like to pull up the website as well. So you're facing the Republican incumbent in November. You don't take corporate PAC money, right? You don't get giant checks from Chevron or Lockheed Martin or whoever. So you are a grassroots, people-powered, people-funded campaign. So Mokah could use our help. So here's her website. You know, a couple options to donate here. I'm assuming you're always looking for volunteers for phone banking, text banking, etc. You know, you can find more about our platform, you know, how and when to vote. And I'll mention this again a few more times. It's, let me get the URL. It's mokahforgeorgia.com. So please go there and check it out. And while I'm here, I just wanted to, this was the clip on Vice, and I'll paste this into the chat for anybody that wants to check that out, because like I said, that was, I thought that was a really powerful piece. Well done, and a great profile of you from a few years ago. It's, you know, you're just getting started.
It's funny because back then they were asking me, Vice was asking me if I ever run for office, and I'm like, no way, I'm not gonna run for office. I was like, I'm too rebellious for that. I don't follow rules well.
That's exactly why, right? It's just the opposite, right? It's great because it shows you canvassing, and you're sort of witnessing voter turnout, voter suppression. You're kind of making these realizations, you know, before, you know, through your eyes, we're sort of seeing it, right? In fact, let me ask about that. So that's one of the issues in Georgia. You know, obviously the Stacey Abrams race last time around, right? Voter suppression is, you know, a bit of a hallmark of Georgia politics, unfortunately. What are you hearing? What are you seeing on the front lines? Anything, you know, in that realm in terms of suppression or?
I mean, first and foremost, I want to give props to Stacey Abrams, because we knew voter suppression existed. What do you do about it? How do you mobilize? How do you make an impact? And she was able to make a huge impact and a huge awakening, you know? After that, I got very much involved, not even after, but during that movement, I got very much involved with trying to help people to register to vote. I realized people are misinformed and miseducated.
Intentionally.
So, intentionally, you know, there's a lot of confusing information out there. So, you know, even after the Vice, after the opportunity of us being able to be on Vice, I served on the board of elections. That's when I really start learning a lot. So now I went from being a person in the community trying to register the people to vote, and being someone sitting at the table that helps to make the decision to see who and what and how it works. Very interesting process. So whether you know it or not, in Athens, Clarke County, the biggest thing we're pushing for is absentee ballots. We're trying to ensure that every vote counts. I'm seeing that the infant structure, meaning that, you know, state will say that local has room to do what they feel is best. But then when you do that, you might get sued, because we did when we decided to do the paper ballots, you know, type thing. So there is a lot of, for me, I'm concerned because we have a new voting machine. We have COVID-19 and people being safe. People are not clear about when to vote. Questions about the absentee ballots. I want to let you know, first, you have to request the absentee ballot to come. The first form you fill out is not the ballot. Then they're going to mail it to you.
Do you have the date? Can you share the dates as you step through this? When can people request? Up until when? Do you know them offhand?
Okay. I know September 22nd. I believe you can request the absentee ballots now. Let me see. Let me pull this up real quick. 22nd is National Voter Awareness Day.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, I don't remember all the dates. Let me try to pull it up. They can also go to SOS, ga.georgia.gov website, and pull up that information. I do not want to give out any incorrect dates.
Yeah.
on requesting the absentee ballot because there's enough incorrect information out there. So go to
Yeah.
sos.ga.gov.
Right on. So can you, I didn't mean to interrupt you to step through that. So first they have to request the ballot, then I'm assuming they sign that request, send it back, then they get the ballot, which then they send in, and that signature is verified against the request form. And then of course they can vote in person on November 3rd, right?
Well,
That's
if
the,
they send in if they have two options, they send in the absentee ballot. If they fill it out, that means once they fill out the application and get the absentee ballot, they're able to vote. They just have to mail it in or drop it in a drop box, drop it off at the Board of Elections if they choose to, or just send it in by mail. I don't want to put it out there, but you don't necessarily have to put a stamp on it. You know, it's supposed to get delivered anyway, but hey, put a stamp on it just in case.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
You know, so but if you vote by mail, that means that you can't go physically in the building that day. That means you already voted and it's casted early. So that
Right.
will prevent that safety measure of, you know, reducing the footprints of people going into the same space and dealing with COVID-19. And then if you don't request your absentee ballot, then you have to show up and vote on November 3rd.
Right on. Unlike the president who told people in North Carolina to vote twice, we're not encouraging anybody to do that. That would be a felony.
Yeah, that's illegal.
Right? God, he's an idiot. So a few other platform things that I want to, just get your thoughts on. Right. I saw you went to DC with March for Our Lives. Can you talk about gun violence prevention and how meaningful that is for you?
Well, I lost a stepson to gun violence. Gun violence is something that continues to ripple throughout the community, not just the Black community, but all across the board in different forms and different ways. So we just want to ease access to gun violence, to ease access when it comes to people being able to gain guns, to being able to go into a store and just buy a gun. What about making sure that your background check is there, making sure that everyone is doing their background checks? I'm concerned about women, and I'm concerned about people that are committing suicide. And it shows that guns are being used, to cause harm in these areas. So it's not a thing for me, we're infringing upon your Second Amendment rights and take away all guns. We just need to make sure that people are safe.
Right.
And even right now we see a spike in the use of guns, not just on domestic situations and suicide rates, but I was just watching the news recently, and two pedestrians ran up on the police and shot and killed innocent police officers. So there's a natural culture within America that guns is a way to solve problems, and it's not a way to solve problems. It might be there to protect yourself from harm, but it's not a way to solve problems. So we need to make sure that people that are mentally unstable or people that are in at risk due to domestic violence, those people don't have access. They shouldn't have access to guns. It shouldn't be easy for you to get access to those guns. So
Right
the
on.
March of Lives trips changed our lives. Just to make a real quick short, I took almost 20 students, March for Our Lives. We went up there. Washington, D.C. was all our first time. So I'm not a candidate that never, I'm a candidate that actually done the work. You know what I mean? Before decided to run for office in many ways, shape, and form, So it was a beautiful trip and a life-changing experience for the youth that joined us.
Amazing. Yeah, I was there. I was there in DC when Emma did the moment of silence, those minutes. Yeah, that was so profoundly moving. I'll never forget that. Good to know that you were there. It was just a beyond words moment. Yeah, what you said is true. It's true of a lot of pretty much all the people that I speak to candidate wise, you're an activist first and then seeking elected office second, right? It's not, your activism isn't for show once you're in office. It comes from a more true place. It's authentic, right? So I like that you pointed that out because, I think that's a special thing. We should all be blessed to have public servants, coming from that place, right, of authenticity. So, so thanks for running, Yeah, and let me ask a few more sort of platform things. all these things are intersectional, right? So I know you talk about, environmental justice, and, we could talk about women's rights and wages, you mentioned, right? And voting rights, we talked about civil rights. All these things are intersectional, and they disproportionately affect, communities of color. I'm preaching to the choir, but, when you are out and you're talking to constituents, or however you're reaching out to them now, do you find that they're aware of the intersectionality of these things? Are they aware that climate change affects them disproportionately? Are they aware of the disproportionality? What's the how is that received when you're delivering those messages to potential voters and constituents?
People are not, and it depends on who you're talking to, but people are not fully aware. And it's almost like you don't want to accept the truth. You don't want to accept the historical fact that certain policies and different things have been put in place, even down to redlining, just all types of things that have been put in place, down to loans and interest rates that have separated us. We're one class of people, not necessarily because they don't want to work hard enough, or not because they don't work hard enough, and not because they don't want a better quality of life. That's not why they are at a disadvantage. It's because of some of these policies, many of these policies that are put in place, these laws that were created. So people tend to not understand that. And even with myself, I was learning a lot about environmental injustices, and the level of it, I didn't even know it was that deep. And it's not just dealing with Black and brown people, it's dealing with people in poverty. So white people that are in poverty, anyone that's living in poverty that just couldn't make ends meet for whatever the case may be, because you were born into a situation, you did not have a choice. You understand? That's what I'm fighting for. It's like a class of people that government has decided that is disposable. And it's okay for them to be incarcerated. It's okay for their areas to be the dumping grounds when it comes to environmental injustices. It's okay for poor people to just continuously not have medical insurance. It's just okay. You know what I mean? And it's not okay. That's basically what I'm saying. It's not okay. So people, it's an educational process as well. And I'm okay and patient with the exchange of conversation and the challenges to realize that what America promised, everybody doesn't have access to that promise.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a never-ending battle, right? Like it's, we can make progress, but there's always going to be the next battle. Like in the fight of cash bail, you're right to mention that it's, it is disproportionately racist, right? It affects, people of color more, but it also affects people of, like you said, class, right? So cash bail is punitive to poor people, right? Which is disproportionate, like I said, but it's not only, right? So, that affects, and climate change affects us all, but, it'll affect people, in rural areas or poor areas more so, right? Yeah. So let me ask just about women's rights then. Where do you stand? Obviously, you protect reproductive rights. How are you an advocate for women's rights?
Well, of course, protecting the reproductive rights to make sure that women have a choice to decide what we want to do with our bodies. I don't question whether you are pro or against. That's not my question. I don't have that. I don't have that question. I just want you to think about the fact that you're a human being, and that by state law, they dictate what you can and cannot do with your body.
Yeah.
And that to me is an injustice. I don't believe that a woman should be forced to carry a child that she chooses not to. The mortality rate, the fact that we don't have Medicaid expansion, we don't even have GYNs in the areas, and they're closing hospitals, and we don't have enough clinics. Then you turn around and then create a law to try to dictate what we can or cannot do with our body, but then you do not provide the services and access to those services that we need to take care of ourselves and our children.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, well, it's for profit, right? And it's discriminatory by its nature and all that stuff, right? I also saw on your website about closing the pay gap and, providing, investing in childcare. Can you talk about those things a little bit?
Okay, so definitely, the gap wages are not balanced when it comes to the pay range when women are in powerful positions. We see that injustice all across the board. So advocating for equal pay rates, also for early childhood care. A lot of times we're the ones that's left at home to be able to take care of our children, and childcare is very, very costly. So we need to implement more programs and so that parents are able to afford childcare, whether it's some type of incentives, some types of cuts and breaks, to where everyone is able to afford childcare and to put more funding in that area. Also, dealing with K-12 is to make sure that the children have proper access to equitable education. Like everything is funded. Early child care needs to be funded properly because that is the foundation. That's where it starts. Moms need to go to work. Children need to get proper education.
Right on. Is there the fight in your district between like private charter schools trying to take public education money versus investing in public schools? Is that a frontline issue there that you've seen, charter schools? They call it choice.
Choice. A couple of years ago, but Athens is a very vocal community. So when that issue came up, we're not really trying to support or let that infiltrate our community as far as charter schools. You know what I mean? Even when it comes down to vouchers, we have to fund our public schools properly as opposed to creating vouchers and taking away the funding from the public school systems, because that's a part of the problem. If we had proper funding, then and we had well-staffed educators and programs were being staffed, then the parents wouldn't be trying to take their children out of the public school system. Also, so yes, many years ago, but Athens area and House District 117 area is really progressive against charter schools and that type of infiltration. So,
Good.
been a part of those type of movements.
Good. So let me ask, just kind of in closing, a couple final questions, and I thank you for your time. I just love talking to authentic, people running for office to serve the public rather than, cash a check or, further their career, and you certainly are indicative of that. So, I thank you for running. Georgia would be blessed to have you represent them. 117 would be blessed to have you represent them. So the incumbent, again, is a Republican, Houston Gaines. Any opportunity for a debate? Has that been discussed or?
I've heard different people ask, are you all going to debate? So we'll see. We will see what shall come, what shall happen. I'm up for it. If he's up for it, I'm up for it. You know what I mean?
Is he
Because,
ducking you? Is he ducking you? Is he afraid of you?
I don't know. If he's up for it, I'm up for it. So, I guess I will see what some of the different organizations will do. Most of the time, they're the ones that create the platforms for the debates. But I know that COVID-19 has changed a lot of things. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Actually, that would make it more easy because you could just do it virtually, right?
Right. So no one would have to leave their space.
Right, exactly. Yep. I always encourage people, and this is me talking, not Mokah, but I always encourage people to contact the incumbent and urge them to debate, right? Because they tend to not do that until they feel jeopardy or whatever. So let's put some pressure on Houston Gaines and get a debate going. Cool. Anything else policy-wise or platform-wise that we didn't hit on that you want to focus on that's important to your district?
The main thing I just want to tell people to, number one, check out my website, mokahforgeorgia.com. Don't judge a book by its cover. Then again, you can judge a book by its cover in this case. However you want to do it. I'm just saying, look deeper and look into the fact that I'm fighting for the people all across the board, And also make sure you vote irregardless. Make sure you're registered to vote. Order your absentee ballot. Make sure your voice counts. Mokahforgeorgia.com. You can donate. We need donations. This is the greatest thing about my campaign that I love. Today we have raised over $60,000. To some people, that's like, oh, that's nothing. You know, compared to my opponent, he's raised over 200,000. But that's like corporate PAC money. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
The donations to date has been the people. It's been the people within my community, and I love it. And I thank y'all. You know, it means a lot to me, you know, so I appreciate every dollar, from the $10, the $1, the $20. Thank y'all very much. So Mokah for Georgia.
Right on. And the what was the voting? It was SOS Georgia.
SOS.Georgia, SOS.ga.gov.
Right on. Awesome. Yeah. So throw Mokah a couple of bucks and sign up for some volunteering. Share this. Share her posts. Go like her socials. All that stuff makes a huge difference. Even if you can't donate, you know, there are ways that you can help in further campaigns, grassroots campaigns. You know, need it more than anybody. Like she said, she's not taking, you know, big lobbyist checks or whatever. And I'm gonna. I assume when you get into office, you're not going to suddenly start taking checks from, you know, Boeing or, you know, whatever, Johnson & Johnson or some big pharmaceutical companies and whatnot, right? You're in it for the people.
I've lived all my life. I've lived all my life without it. I was like, even when they cut the budget, I was like, I'll be just fine.
Love it. I love it. Let me just give you one more opportunity. Is there anybody else on your slate that is running in your districts that, you know, either you don't necessarily have to endorse them, but anybody else you want to make mention of to elevate that's running?
I want to also mention Jonathan Wallace. Check out his campaign. He's a good guy. You know, he's a good guy. Check out his page. Good family guy. And he's running. I forgot who's his opponent, but he's running. Okay. Also, Deborah Gonzalez. She's running for district attorney. Make sure you check her out. She is a fighter. You know, she's a fighter. I'm so proud of her. And also, we have John Q. Williams. He's running for sheriff in Athens, Clarke County. You know, check them out as well. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. But do that after you go to mokahforgeorgia.com.
Right.
Then go check all those other folks out. So it's been a real treat to chat with you, Mokah. You know, I wish you the best of luck in November. You know, I can't wait to talk to you on the other side and call you Representative Johnson. Yeah, and you know, Godspeed. Good luck on November 3rd. Anyone watching, go support Mokah. Yeah, it's been a real treat. Good luck. I will talk to you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I really appreciate you having me. And we'll talk again soon. You have a blessed day and stay safe.
Right on. Thank you.
All right.